Cape Verde have done something only one other nation have ever done in the World Cup, and that is get to the World Cup qualifying on your first go. The last team to do that was the Republic of Ireland way back in the 1900s, like mid 1900s. It's an incredible feat for Cape Verde, who a lot of people wrote off in that group. A lot of people thought it was going to go Spain, Uruguay, Cape Verde, and then Saudi Arabia, but Cape Verde truly showed grit, showed character, and showed that the people who weren't really watching the African qualifying for the World Cup missed out on what Cape Verde was. Cape Verde did really well in qualifying. Yeah, they may not have a star-studded lineup, but they were really well coached, really well set up, disciplined really well, and showed that on the World Cup stage to get to the World Cup qualifying rounds. Let me pull up the stats here. Yeah, they yeah, they kind of dominated Saudi Arabia and didn't get that goal. Fun fact, they're the first team I think either ever or maybe like the second team. I think they are the first team ever to have gotten to qualifying, World Cup qualifying without winning a game. They drew all three of their games, and while they did score two goals against Uruguay, getting a bunch of draws against a bunch of teams who have a lot of good players is pretty good. They played really well this game. 15 shots. A lot of those were on target. Yeah, or actually, I lied. Not a lot of them were on target. I misread that. It's only two on target, so they couldn't really find the goal, but they played really well. I think just Saudi Arabia were just trying to go for that win as well and hoping to not lose, as this group was on a knife's edge. Anybody could have gone through. At this point, if Spain had lost to Uruguay, they would have potentially been in third. If Saudi Arabia had won, they could have jumped up all the way up to second. I think Spain were almost guaranteed to be first there. It's just weird results had to go for like Cape Verde had to win, and then Uruguay both had to win. Like those two had to win for Spain to have dropped down, but it didn't happen, and this is what the table looked like now. But Cape Verde played pretty well. Borges, Vazinha played pretty well. Their top line and Livramento, I feel like he didn't do all that much. Saudi Arabia are a team I think that aren't the greatest defensively, and I feel like they should have scored a goal against this team. If like based off what they showed against Uruguay, they should have scored at least a goal or two against this Saudi Arabian team. But it does not matter because they are through and they're off to go play Argentina. The hardest game of their lives, probably. And that's going to be about 6 days from now. They're gonna go play number one in the world, Argentina. Which, if I was Cape Verde, I'd be both stoked and a little bit nervous because you get to play against Messi, a great Argentina side who just won the World Cup 4 years ago. So and on the biggest stage as well, like you can showcase yourself to one of these top European clubs. Be like, hey, I'm good at this game. You should sign me up. So I feel like Cape Verde could potentially get something out of this if the day goes right. For Argentina, they're probably happy that they got Cape Verde, a team that only scored two goals, and while they're really good defensively, I feel like they most likely will find the way to get past, like I said. Next up here, we had France versus Norway yesterday. Dembele showing why he was a World Cup, or not World Cup, Ballon d'Or winner with this performance. Like basically a 24-minute hat trick in the first half, just outrageous. All three of his finishes were really good. I think he just played probably arguably his best game for France. Usually when he plays for France, he's not the star man or just shines that much. He only has like 8 goals before the game in like 32 matches, so not the greatest of performance like stat lines for France, but when you're basically facilitating almost all of your passes towards Mbappe or formerly Giroud, it you kind of don't get as many goals. But he showed up today, really showed that he has what it takes to play for this France team and help them win the World Cup. Norway, they rested a bunch of their players. Like then they started Strand Lawson, Oscar Bob, didn't have Holland or Odegaard up top. Kind of just they knew they were into the next round pretty much because Senegal had just win for them to go through. So they rested a bunch of their players, which I think was smart. It allows them to go into the second round of 32 with a fully rested squad. France just more of the same, just threw out one of their strongest lineups and just went all at it, trying to rack up the goals, just trying to get a bunch of players, uh, not match sharpness, but like what is good form. Uh, just try to get a bunch of players in good form to help you out in the later stages. France go on to now play Sweden, who I think France will probably push aside fairly easily. Sweden have been a bit up and down in the group stage this World Cup. But Sweden, if they do play really well, Gyökeres and Isak somehow find the game of their lives, they could potentially beat France. And as for Norway, they go to play Cote d'Ivoire in their round of 32 game, which will be pretty good. I feel like Norway should get past Cote d'Ivoire, on paper at least, with the front line they have. But Cote d'Ivoire have shown that they can play pretty well, so something could happen that game. Now on to the second game of this group, which was Senegal-Iraq. Going to this game, Senegal were almost certain to be out. They needed a win, and they needed a big win to at least have a chance of staying in, because they had to pad that goal difference really badly to even just have a chance of leapfrogging a bunch of the teams in the top 8 for the third place teams. And they did that. I said that they had a really good chance of just blowing away Iraq, and it did not. It started out hot. They got a goal in the 4th minute, started out great, and then they got a red card. Iraq got a red card, and everyone thought, oh, here we go. So I'm going to rack up the goals. But then it took until the 56th minute for them to even get a second goal. But when it did, the floodgates just opened and they scored 4 more, like within 30 minutes after that. So really good for Senegal. They dominated the game pretty much start to finish. 28 shots. It's just insane stat line. 12 shots on target. Pretty good, I would have to say. I think they took a lot of criticism that they heard from their other 2 games in a really tough group and just took out their frustration on Iraq. Yeah, Iraq are not great. They kind of got obliterated in every game they played in this group. But, I mean, you're at a World Cup. You're having fun, you know? I feel like if I was an Iraqi, I'd be proud of being able to play in a World Cup against a bunch of great players and teams. Unfortunate that you got hammered in every single game, but at least you got to play in one. I would have killed to be able to play in a World Cup. But yeah, Senegal now are basically praying that Croatia don't win, and that Algeria also don't win, and that the DR Congo don't win. And the last game that was yesterday was Uruguay versus Spain, which was a firecracker. It showed the cannibal fucking grit. I have not seen a South American team blow up like they have in quite some time. I think Spain were a bit lackluster. They scored a pretty decent goal in that first game from Benya. Obviously, they had a weaker lineup. They were kind of just resting a bunch of their players, rotated because they were through already. Getting Lamine Yamal some minutes, throwing on Mikel Merino, who hasn't played in quite a while for Arsenal. Just getting some players some minutes up top, get them ready for form for the later stages, resting some other star players. And Uruguay were going in having to win. If they didn't win, they were going home, or at least they had to draw to at least have a chance of potentially staying in. And they did not do too hot this game. They could not find any stretch of possession for a while. They had 5 shots and they were just from fucking everywhere, man. Like look at the shot graph. 1 from like half field, 2 from like 50 yards or 40 yards out. One of them on target, which was a comfortable save. 1 from like point blank, which I don't know how was stopped, and then another one from like the other box. Whereas Spain, a bunch of them inside the box. Like that looks like a much better shot map. Yeah, they had 1 more shot, but like if I was a team looking at the stats later, I would say this team probably deserve to win more than this team that could only get 2 shots in the box. I want to talk for about one specific player here in Kanobo. Uh, this guy is had one of the wackiest head losses I've ever seen in my life. He throughout this tournament has been making insane challenges, has been super animated, super passionate, which is awesome for like a neutral. But for a national team, watching him fly in with his tackles, I thought if I was Uruguayan fan, like support like fan, I would have been on like ripping like my chair because like it was only a matter of time. Watching him during Spain, some of the challenges that he was throwing down, I thought he was going to get a second like 2 yellows before he was going to get a straight red. The red a bit unfortunate. One could say that his foot kind of it wasn't going to be a knee breaker or leg breaker or whatnot, but it still was a high foot. And then the way he got the red card and started just trying to go at the ref for like the next like 5 minutes until like even after the whistle, he was still trying to go at the ref was like insane. Um, Ultimate head loss by him. I think he will be really disappointed by himself for getting sent off in a must-win game. Another player who I thought was insane was or insanely bad was Muslera, who has had a mare of a World Cup. Has had a mistake in the first game against Saudi Arabia, two against Cape Verde to let in both of their goals, and then had a huge mistake here, which led in Spain's only goal, and then hooked at halftime. I I feel like it's just so sad for him. I think he's so upset, but at the same time he's 40, and you're telling me that Uruguay doesn't have another goalkeeper that's better than him that they could have brought up. Like the keeper they brought on, uh, he's 33, like almost like 8 years younger, and he didn't want to play him instead. Like even Santiago Mele, 28. Like I don't know why they didn't play any of these younger players, one of the younger goalkeepers. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not I don't watch Uruguay all that much, but I don't know if they're both worse than Muslera. But based off the performances I saw from this group, I would have taken any of them over the first time. I thought he wasn't even going to play this game after the Cape Verde game. So that's on Marco Bielsa. I think Marco Bielsa has really let down his team with the way they've been played. I thought they should have like comfortably went through, but the fact that they got 2 points, they drew 2 games, one of them against Saudi Arabia, which they should have blown away. Cape Verde was a game they should have potentially won, but drawing 2-2 is not the worst thing in the world. And then against Spain, they were just lackluster against a weaker Spain side that was rotating everything. So we got one more day left of the group stages, and it is down to the wire for a lot of these third place teams. I think the last group that we for the games today, the last couple groups, they're pretty much all set for the most part. Um, yeah, they're pretty much. I think it's just like we know who's going to go through on those three for the most part. So it's all those third place teams, and it's heating up.